Hey guys, this is different. This is weird, yeah? This is me on camera talking to you. First of all, let me just point out that, yeah, it's kind of obvious at this point that we're doing things a little bit differently right now. I've decided to try video reviews with me actually on camera talking to you, as well as game footage captured from the Xbox One. Apologies for some of the more amateur elements of this production, but I'm basically never done video production before, and I'm trying things out, and things will get smoother as time progresses and more professional. This is completely instead of a written review. Basically, it's time to admit YouTube has won. Quick plays have won. Video content is the way people want to consume, video game stuff. So that's what I'm trying out. It's a bit strange. I've got to try and teach myself to look into the camera, and I hope you enjoy the review. So without any further ado, let's start talking about the Banner Saga. So the Banner Saga has been brought to us by a little developer called Stoic Games, and it came out about 2 years ago on PC, and it's finally made its way to PS4 and to Xbox One. The version I played was on Xbox One. It's a kind of a mashup of two different types of game. Basically, you have the kind of Oregon Trail type choose your own adventure stuff with dialogue and random events, which is what you can see in the footage right now. And then you have the Final Fantasy Tactics style combat. I really like this combination of gameplay styles. The Oregon Trail has a lot of sort of fond memories for me from when I was a kid, and I really enjoyed the sort of pastiche of it that was happening in the Banner Saga. As you can see from the footage playing right now, the Banner Saga is a gorgeous game. It has this beautiful 2D art style, and it never fails to be stunning to look at, this desolate, wintry wonderland of depression that you get to see at all kinds of times. Beyond the Oregon Trail sort of side of things, you then have this sort of combat, which is this turn-based combat that would be familiar to most people. But the biggest change in the mechanic here is that your strength, the red bar, as you'll probably see demonstrated in the footage, is both your health and your attack points. So it adds a level of strategy to the battles. Basically, you don't want to rush in, take a lot of damage, because if you do, you won't be able to deal the damage. So you have to think about how to deploy your units in a way to take advantage of that and to avoid being destroyed. In addition to that, there's a shield mechanic, which you want to sort of break down the armor first on an opponent before turning to the attacking their strength. So it makes the combat to be really, actually very deep, and require a lot of thought and time. The combat itself is very slow paced. The game itself is quite slow paced, including the Oregon Trail sort of side of things. You have a lot of time to think about your decisions, and one of the main reasons that's important is that they're often very weighty, and it's a situation where you really need to think about the choices you're making, because the world you're in is harsh and it will kick your ass. Basically, nobody is going to survive what's happening in the Banner Saga. It's an incredibly heavy situation where people are just trying to get by for a few more days. You can see some more of the lovely visuals here on display. Basically, there's lots of dialogue trees, a really good, well-written story. I wish there'd been a little bit more voice acting. You saw in the previous clip that there was some dialogue, but it's pretty rare. But I can understand why. There is a huge amount of conversation, and dialogue and recording, that sort of thing, is an expensive proposition. So I understand why that didn't happen to the degree. But indie games, it's one of those things. We don't get a lot of dialogue from time to time. One thing I did notice though, between dialogue options, or between sort of these cutscenes, interactive cutscenes, and the decision-making things and the combat, lots of load screens, and they're kind of long considering what the game is and how old the game is now. You'd have hoped basically these things would have been a little bit quicker and to the point. Yeah, I really enjoyed my time with the Banner Saga. It's fair to say that some of the standout elements are the visual style is fantastic. The combat has a deep, rich level of interactivity to it, and the world you find yourself in is beautifully constructed, if very depressing place to be. One thing I have to mention though is the amazing soundtrack by Austin Wintry. It's fantastic, really memorable, beautifully scored, lots of incidental music that happens behind the scenes in dialogue moments, or just when you're on the trail, as it were, with your caravan, desperately trying to find a new safe haven for your people. And then of course it spikes up and gets really exciting and emotive during combat. Very, very good soundtrack indeed. It's a shame it's taken so long for this game to come to Xbox, but as I always proclaim, I am a champion of the indie games on the console platforms in general, and I love to see the fact that they're making their way. As a port, it's pretty well done, except for those pretty protracted loading times, which can be quite jarring, especially just when you're trying to move around the map area and upgrade your fighters, or you know, do other things like that. I haven't even dug really into the interesting use of the currency in this game, which is renown, which you can either spend on upgrading your fighters or for buying supplies. So there's lots of these difficult choices throughout Banner Saga, which really sets it apart from other just tactical based combat games. That whole questing element to the journey that you're on, it really engages you and makes you care about the characters as you get to know them, as you play the game further and further. A really good game. I give it 8 out of 10.